Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm JP Robinson. This is my website down here, jprobinsonbooks.com. I'm so glad to have you with me today. We're doing the first of a 5-part series on how to write a great novel or nonfiction book, depending on whatever it is that you're writing. This is going to be about a 10-minute course, and it's going to be, again, there'll be about 5 of them, so all told we'll have about an hour of solid instruction. Don't forget to subscribe so that way you get updates about new ones as they come along. All right, let's jump right into it. So first of all, our focus points for today are quite simply how to decide what to write and how to find the right formats. So we want to focus on those two things today. What do we write about? So a lot of times authors want to know what do I write about? Where do I start? And this course will help teach you that. So the first thing you want to remember when you're looking at what to write about is, first of all, look at yourself. I always encourage authors to do a bit of self-reflection. So that way you can kind of figure out what are my skills, what are my experiences, what stories do I have or have I been through, or what stories have family members told me, what things do I have that I can share with others that will be beneficial, useful, entertaining, depending on what your focus is and how you want to craft your writing. So the first thing to think about is what are you good at, and secondly, what do you know? You might be an awesome quilter, or you might have a great skill as a linguist and want to share that information with others. You might have some great historical knowledge and want to weave a story, if you're a historical fiction author like myself, that you want to share with the masses. So these are all things to begin, first of all, by thinking, what am I good at? And then what do I know that I can share with other people? The second thing you want to keep in mind as you're going through this is what gets you excited. Readers can tell when an author is excited about what he or she is writing. If it's some kind of instinct, I think, inside that they have that allows them to understand, okay, this author's really going out there and really putting forth something that's going to connect with me. Because the thing is, if you're excited about what you're writing, and you portray that in your writing, then it's going to turn around, it's going to infect your reader, and you're more likely to get a great review and get other readers excited about it and get people talking about it. So don't write something that you're not really into. Make sure you're writing about something that speaks to you and that gets you going. Next thing you want to think about is what do people want to read about? When you're deciding what to write about, you want to think, okay, what is there out there? Is there a need for what I'm writing? Is there a potential market for my book? You might be really excited about saving dogs or being a rescue mom or whatever. But if people that you're writing about, or the book that you're writing is not presented in a way that will connect and share that information in a way with readers that will resonate with them, then you're going to probably lose some people. So you want to stop and think, is there a need for what gets me excited? I might be excited about it, but is there a need for what I have to share? If there isn't a need or people aren't curious about it, then that's probably not something you want to talk about. Or really what you could do is kind of going on to, before I get to my second point here, is that you can actually take your idea and couch it into a bigger theme. So for example, like I mentioned before, I like to write historical fiction. I wanted to write a book that really focused in on the lives of soldiers in World War I, their life experiences, as well as the nurses, because there's a lot of misinformation or a lack of information. People don't often talk about the nurses that sacrificed, some of them, their lives, etc., to these women that were out there to try to save the lives of soldiers. So I kind of wanted to share both things. Now, if you are a history buff or history fan, then you may sit down and read something like that. But it was better for me to actually take those themes and weave them into a greater story, weave those elements into a fictionalized story that will hook and engage readers. And I'm speaking about my Northshire trilogy, by the way, In the Shadow of Your Wings and In the Midst of the Flames. I wanted to take those themes and kind of weave them into a greater story, which allowed me to visually and emotionally engage my readers while letting them understand the sacrifices that some of these nurses went through, understand the hardships that some of these soldiers went through in a way that would connect with them. So there was a need, there was a market, and that's where that series arose. The next thing is, what are people talking about? Well, what people are chatting about on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and just in general on the news, etc., those are always good things to write about because people are already talking about them. And you notice I use this word market in here. Well, I want you to actually start thinking about the marketing from your book before you even put the first word down on your page, because it's such an important aspect of being a successful author. So the things to think about when you're deciding what do I write about, first of all, think, what are you good at? What do you know? What are your skills, your experiences, or stories? What are you excited about? Make sure you're into it, whatever you're writing about. And then secondly, what do people want to read about? Is there a market? Is there a need? And what are they talking talking about. With those kind of things in your mind, you're on the path to choosing a topic that will be beneficial for you, easy to write relatively, and also something that will potentially have potential sales. Okay, so once you've decided what you want to write about, then you need to think about what format you're going to use. When I say format, I mean, what genre are you going to be talking about? Will you be writing fiction or nonfiction? What's the style of your book? What's the feel of your book? These are all things that you want to kind of take into consideration before you start writing. A lot of times people think, well, writing a book is just sit down there and put words in a computer. It's actually not. You really want to have a kind of feel or a connection through it, because that's what's going to allow you to decide what format do I want and how am I going to present this information to my authors. So when you're deciding about whether fiction or nonfiction, first of all, you want to think about which one will best convey your message. So again, going back to what I was talking there about the nurses and etc. Yeah, I could get that same information out with a nonfiction title, but I really wanted to get my characters engaged and make them feel what these people are feeling. And for me, I felt that fiction would allow me to do that. Your message might be a spiritual message, it might be a natural message, it might be an encouraging message. However you want to do it, you just need to sit down and think, okay, what option, being fiction or nonfiction, is going to allow me to convey my message? Once you've decided whether you want to go with fiction or nonfiction, you then want to stop and think about what genre am I going to write? And because a genre is basically a category underneath the bigger umbrella of fiction or nonfiction. And your genre is really important because that's going to determine where your book gets kind of filed or classified on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever platform you use. And it's also going to be what your readers are going to look for. So for me, I hate horror. I don't like horror books at all. So I would never go into a horror genre looking for a good read. So you want to decide, okay, what genre am I going to put my book in? And really, a great genre for you is the genre that you've read the most. Most authors are good readers, and really the truth is that what you read, the genre you read, is going to actually dramatically impact the genre that you write. So think back to what genre have you read the most? Is it fantasy? Is it history? Is it Christian living biblical literature? What is it that you've read, be it fiction or nonfiction? And you want to kind of file your book in there, because what you read is probably what you enjoy. What you enjoy is what you're going to write well. So keep that in mind. In terms of the feel that I have up here, you want to always keep in mind what connection do you want to make with your reader. When I'm writing nonfiction, I typically tend to write in a very conversational tone, kind of like what I'm talking to you right now. I want the reader to feel like they're sitting there with me and we're just kind of having a conversation. And that kind of casual connection makes it more relaxed, more laid back. It allows me to convey my information in an effective and engaging way. And it also allows me to have fun with my reader. I can kind of make some jokes in there and get them kind of thinking and a little bit of humor, because I want a casual connection. If you want a style that is more formal or a style that is more literary, well, those aspects of it are all going to be reflected in the language you use, the style, the tone of writing. Are you using higher vocabulary, or are you using contractions? Are you not? These are all things that go into playing into your feel and the style of your book. In the end, all these things together are what make your book your book. They're what make your book unique. But by having all this information together and by thinking about this before you actually start writing the actual content, you're going to be in a better position to make your book a successful one. So to summarize what we've talked about today we discussed two main topics. First of all, what do you decide? How do I decide what to write? And secondly, what format do I use to convey that information? When you take these two things and the information conveyed here, you're at a good basis to get that first draft, that first chapter, that first draft down. And you can constantly, once you have that baseline established, you can look as your book goes along and think, okay, am I sticking with the same format? Have I changed my feel or my tone of my book? Am I becoming more formal in chapter 3, whereas I was very casual in chapter 1? Having this kind of streamlined and laid out from the beginning is going to help provide solid direction for your book. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. I encourage you, if you are into writing and learning crowning your craft as an author, to check out my two titles here, Write Business, which focuses on how every author can set up a writing system that pays, and Write History, which focuses on writing outstanding biographies, memoirs, and historical fiction. Don't forget to follow me online on Twitter and Facebook, and also my website blog here, jprobinsonbooks.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can continue to get top quality information to help make your books succeed. Thanks again. This is JP Robinson.